Good evening, one and all. I again, Dr. Jayashree Hazarika, on behalf of the Department of English, Faculty of Media Studies and Humanities, Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies, would like to welcome you all to this fifth day of the 7 International Virtual Faculty Development Program on Mastering the Craft of Teaching, which has been, as you know by now, organized by the Department of English, FMEH, in association with Cape Comorin Trust and Lavender Literary Club India. So I would request all the participants to keep on, like in the early sessions, keep on writing their queries, their thoughts on the chat box. And once the session is over with the first speaker, they can ask by raising their hands and ask their queries, or you can always put your queries on the chat box. So with us, we have the first speaker of the session. In fact, we have both the first and the second speaker, I can see. My namesake, Dr. Jayashree Singh, and she is an associate professor in the Department of English, Bhopal Nobles University, Udaipur. And her area of specialization is Indian English literature in translation, colonial, post-colonial world literature, European literature. She has published 56 national and 28 international papers. She has presented papers in various national as well as international conferences. She has organized seminars and workshops for various national as well as international universities like the Harvard University, University of Macau, among others. And she is the recipient of the several, prestigious awards, and the list is quite long. So, yeah, pardon me if I cannot take the names of all of the awards that we have received, but we have a very prominent personality with us, Dr. Jayashree Singh. Ma'am, welcome.
Everybody there on board. I'm Dr. Jayashree Singh from Bhopal Nobles University. Indeed, my profile gives you a little bit, biodata of mine, but actually that was not my methodology to pick up in academy, to pick up as an academician. Basically, I was English language teaching fellow, and then slowly and gradually when I took up the college teaching, especially the university students teaching, and there I felt that there are students from multidisciplinary subjects. They are really keen to make their personality and professional skills upgraded. So I felt that just teaching a language with simple functional pattern, and that had been given to us through the times of colonization, and then further and further, all English teachers had been following the same pattern to feed minds with some kind of system of language that could help them to understand the intricacies of sentence structure. But point was that the world of, especially the competitive world of India after 1990s became so progressive and full of, exchange due to information technology, advancement and adoption in every sphere of our life. So when I joined college teaching, and I think around after 2000, I felt that there's something I must do to attract the students' interest so that they can directly jump into their presentation skills and jump into their communicative aptitude, and they may help themselves with their personality skills. So, I was given language teaching of multidisciplinary subjects of law, of education, and of, arts and science students, and then also of biotech, and then also of business management. So everywhere I felt that there's a different pattern to be adopted to teach communicative English or the functional English. There may be the prose subjects, there may be, they may be dealing with their own content to update their knowledge of their own degrees. But point was that they felt that they have to be, interactive, they have to be interpersonal to get into the, job wherever they are located, and they have to stand that competition. So I felt that the student has to first understand their own system of knowledge for which he or she has basically procured admission. So, for example, if a student from business communication or biotech or from law, they are all speaking English. They all need functional language. But what's the difference in their presentation of their, degree, which they or the knowledge which they have learned in the during their course of education? So there, then, this now my presentation basically theorizes my methodology that basically I adopted to slowly and gradually, percolate into the mindset of young upstarts to upgrade their knowledge with regard to the language, how to use language, how to widen the vision, how to, keep updating themselves with some sort of different, some sort of diversity. Means they have to think that one product can be in a multiple way. Just for example, when we learn the words, vocabulary in English language, what do we do? We say that, see, in thesaurus, if you go, you will find so many meanings. But every word stands a particular annotation with regard to its usage in the sentence structure. So why? In law, it stands in a different way, the same, word or vocabulary. Of course, the functional structure is same. You need clauses, you need a main clause, subordinate clause, and not so and so and so structures. But the vocabulary varies. But how it varies? If you have a multiple sense of extracting information from so many available sources, whatever you get from multidisciplinary subjects, so there you have to understand that if I'm using this vocabulary or the word in my functional structure of language, how will it matter? How will it mean? So there, your multiple intelligence skill or approach or this theory applies, and we have to, furnish our mind as we grow into this materialistic world to face the competitive edge in our professional life. So my next, I'm just now proceeding with my next slide. See, whenever we are into some kind of knowledgeable world, whatever knowledge, for example, during Corona times, we were sitting all in our house watching television or going through all kind of digital information through our laptops or mobiles. But as we are from the world of inquiry, reason, logic, so it's natural to us that we use our autonomy to question. So agency of question is very important in whatever sphere you are. So without question, you cannot, create a kind of a vision, a kind of a light to give some kind of sequence or frame to your knowledge. So see, for example, you're from a business management student, and if you are given some kind of homework or assignment to prepare for advertisements, so first you will create in your mind some idea, the punchline, and then punchline, you will get through certain vocabulary, you will construct a word into a phrase and phrase into a sentence, and then you will try to make it rhythmic. So how it comes into your mind, all this, how do you develop all this? The more you read, the more you go into the different diverse knowledges, then only you can get it. So one idea, one arrow, if it is striking to something, it should strike to many other spheres also. Means it should not be just be shot blankly. So here, see, when this advertisement, if we see that brought up right, no, it has this phrase. It gives you a lot of meaning, but how it's related to Bonvita. So see, the person who has made this punchline, of course, might be very well competent in using the language of English, and see the rhythm in it, the alliteration, the usage of rhyme. So all is very catchy, attracting. So here at the first, you don't even see this picture, the visual here given of mother and son. You just get to the first two lines. So how this fellow, whosoever has given this kind of advertisement and then used all commercial artist skills to make this poster attractive, that means that commercial artist, whosoever seeking the help of the language expert or the market expert or the the other persons who are in the downline of commercial designing. So see how it is intermixing. Every all employees, one is expert in some other thing, and other is somebody else in expert in something else. They are all intermixing, but you need to be diverse, you need to be multiple to collaborate everything into one frame to give one vision. So this kind of thinking process you have to develop. Now there are elements of thinking. So how we and uh, give some kind of frame of formulation to our thought process. There's some steps. First is you have to think that what is my purpose. If I'm a student of first year or second year or third year, and now I'm in third year, I need to now grab some job before I finish with my third year graduate exams. So if I'm into some kind of a degree or course, and my expertise is also in using English language, how will I make my mind to make myself prepared? So I have to first think that with what purpose I was there in this course, and if I am proceeding with some kind of application, job application, I need to be very well aware that where I'm applying, why I'm applying. You have to do full inquiry to make your purpose more furnished. Then you have to question yourself. Whatever your excerpt you are reading, or clip you are reading, or post you are reading, or any visual you are observing, you have to give a thoughtful mind. You have to brood over it, you have to question it. How other people are observing the same thing. What could be its history? What could be its why it's historical? Because suppose I have shown you one advertisement, you'll say this advertisement madam has picked from somewhere old newspapers. Nowadays we don't touch newspapers, so she might have got from somewhere that clip. So this kind of thought that you are getting into your mind after watching that clip on the slide, so means you are going into some kind of space and time to question. Okay, then when you question, you have a scientific temperament, you have curiosity with regard to the visuals or with regard to the verbal clues that are given in that poster. Then you will also say that see how politically the advertiser markets the things, how the gender perspective is being used, how the children being shown there in that poster. So how politically that same kind of clue, visual clip is emanating from that post. Then what are its all other areas that you can question in your mind while watching something. Then finally you get some information out of that, whatever observation you have done. Then you try to now again meditate. You become mature, because that was your first hand observation. You become now mature. Then fourth is interpretation and inference. Now you want to use that observation or the knowledge that you got from that poster into something else. Either you will be doing some in chit chat, repeating the same thing with other friends if your peers are of that age to which that poster is giving you kind of information. So here you start interpreting it with amongst your peers, or you start interpreting in your own mind in your self-isolation, and this way the element of thinking proceeds. Then you develop some kind of concept with regard to certain idea that you have in your mind, and then you try to relate. So what are the key concepts or models that I'm using to make my decision? See, sometimes our decisions are done on the observations. At first go, they're mostly, very normal, ordinary. You may say, you just make it a kind of, you just observe it, and you take out your some kind of decision and decide that, okay, this kind of product is there in the market, and I have to go if I go for shopping and all, and it's very necessary for my children. So this kind of decision you make. But when you go to that market and do purchasing, you find that there are many alternatives there available. So here comparison comes. Your element of thinking gets into some kind of more into ripeness, the maturity. You start constructing, comparing the things. Then you feel okay. You start thinking about your needs at your home, and then finally you form a belief in your mind. Then when you take that product into your house, now product can be the word, the vocabulary, or an idea, or an observation, or some whatever you have procured from somewhere. So on those things you develop some kind of belief, and then finally you utilize it. How do you do it? What is likely to happen if eating animals is outlawed? For example, if you distribute that same product, or you use that product in your house, how the others would react, what will happen afterward they consume it. So this kind of process of thinking proceeds. Now, points of view. Have I really considered how other people might feel about this issue? So after gathering so much of reactions and observations, you really get some new ideas. So this is the way our thinking works. So it's known as six heads thinking. Many major international organizations use this technique for problem solving. Now, generally, when for example, if your teachers, especially of the business management and the law, or you may say biotech, they always are talking about some kind of things which are really beyond your understanding or beyond your control to catch it and to use it, because they are not based on your rote learning or memorization. You need to feel, experience that thing, then only you can frame a kind of structure with regard to that observation, and then you have to present it. So that is all called project based learning or the problem solving learning. How you develop your understanding for a certain thing after your experiential observations or learning. Each head represents a perspective or a way of thinking. They are metaphorical heads thinker can put on or take off to indicate the type of thinking they are using. In a group, we can ask members to put on different hats in a sequence to help the problem solving process. Have you ever been through like a group discussion process? Generally, during your viva, or you may say external, when you are examined externally, there is some kind of 15 minutes time for a group discussion. What does the examiner do? He gives you some kind of thought or idea or a question or some kind of verbal or visual clue, and then they say, okay, now you all discuss among yourselves, and then finally place it before me, and what are your observations and your knowledge with regard to whatever you have gathered or discussed. So generally, that's why the people say that you should be very open with regard to your thoughts and ideas. You will get more and more ideas if you interact. So in a group, we can ask members to put on different hats. This can help overcome the problem of each group member adopting random positions. It also permits us to control people who insist of sticking to one perspective. Sometimes there is an odd man out situation, that one is totally against with the rest of the other members of the group. So that's the challenge. Here you have to, crisscross your no the discussion, that how one is putting a challenge to your normal order of thought process. So here you don't need to be so negative, but rather you have to adopt or accept that challenge and take up the new way of forming your alternatives. So this theory of, or you may say this technique, given by Edward de Bono's, and he says that each head represents to certain kind of, pattern. That if it is a blue, so blue means it's representing some kind of, overall oneness, some kind of, uh, global overview. Global overview means, like, see, we like, for example, you all are listening to me. I'm just working for myself basically while doing this presentation. But finally, when I work for myself doing this presentation, finally I have to think that this presentation is going to affect many spirits, many souls, and those souls are finally would be contributing to the global. So from my local place, I'm contributing to some kind of global units that are there, and then those would be, unifying it, bringing into some kind of one solution or one target. So similarly, when we are in groups, or when we have so many ideas, we have to collaborate them into proper one order.
Pallavi Ghosh, please mute yourself. Pallavi Ghosh, please mute yourself.
Yes. Now, so I'm giving you one more example. You all watch movies now, or you read some, literary pieces. So when you come across some kind of a literary piece, or you watch movie, like for example, if you had watched the movie Shan, in which was, there was a lead, there were lead actors like Shashi Kapoor and Shatrughan Sinha, and then there were so many, prime characters, Amitabh Bachchan, etc. in that movie Shan. But there was a very, minor character, Abdul. Now, it's my perception how I'm observing that movie or explaining to you that movie. Now, when I watch that movie, I have my multiple intelligence applies to, of course, I have to view the movie as it is being screened or directed by the filmmaker to, bring into limelight certain big characters, big pop stars. But point is that how I, as a, researcher or as a explorer of knowledge, how I disseminate my information observation from that particular movie. So Abdul there is a character who is a disabled character. Now I have made it that character the center, instead of making other characters the center, which probably are done by the film director. So my whole perception is different from the other viewers, from the other critiques. So this is called, a sixth sense or the insight to bring a new order, a new idea, a new thing, which even a commonly going on stereotypical pattern may not even have thought of it. So here, that Abdul character in that movie Shan brings you, a kind of view with regard to your the audience or the spectators or the viewers misunderstanding that they all make the other prime characters the major characters, and that's Abdul character who is the, main, you may say, marginal character, but catching the center position. Now, if I have stereotypical views, I will ignore that character and I'll focus on whatever the director is putting before me on screen. Now, if I'm a traditional person, and if I'm very, some kind of believing in some kind of, religious orthodox system, and if I watch that Abdul character, I will apply that position of that character to some kind of karma and punishment. Or I would say, see how the if I'm a social activist, and I'll say, see how the director placed him is not given some kind of, position to that Abdul disabled character. So means I'm questioning, and I'm questioning the director's position, and taking the stand towards that particular character, and giving it not that prominent position as to others. So somewhere means my thinking uh, capacity or questioning agency is working. Why it's working? Because might be, I may be a religious person, I may be a activist, I may be involved in some kind of other social issues, where I'm very much close to such disabled persons. So here, it applies that how you use your multiple diversity that you have in your mind while watching certain thing, and bringing out some new idea and product to construct something new alternatives. So now there are, you will see that character is largely marginalized, and then you will mostly use that movie, of course, to educate people. If you want to focus that marginal character into the center, so it's again a new idea to market my things. Like when the movie Shan released, it was released in 1980s or 75. That time the product had its different value. But if today, if I re watch that movie, and if I may make that certain character the center in that movie, so means I have used that movie to educate the public. So here my ability of multiple intelligence applies. How I view the same thing in a new pattern, in a new order. So I'm arguing myself. I'm questioning myself also, and I'm questioning the others also. So here the protagonist comes as disabled person. It becomes a center, and you create new market, new ideology, new frame of activism for the further social work. Next is, if you see the same movie, how it technologically involving others. Making a movie is not a joke. You have to have understanding of the language of the disabled person. You need to have that characters, not the only the language, but suppose that person, Abdul was there, handicapped. He was not visually impaired, but he was handicapped. So what sort of problematic issues that came up while producing or directing the things? So that kind of pattern you have to involve. Then you have to have a musical and all sorts of sound system to be involved. So see how many types of knowledge one requires to build something. So how can you say that the language that we speak, whether it is Hindi or Marathi or Mewari or whatever, English, whatever language you speak, locally or the globally, you are not a single unit. You are working for collaborating the further units. I remember that there was Ralph Waldo Emerson in his first speech of making Americans literally independent. He said that, of course, there is one farmer, he is farming the land. But see how he, as a single man, connected with so many men, men, and then again he becomes a single. So how multiple knowledges comes into one frame to develop one particular thing. So here you see, in order, so many ideas are there. Subtitles. Now, if you need subtitles for a particular film, you need to hire somebody else who is expert in developing software and using that software in the language, of whatever the language of the film is. So then sign language, enhance the film experience. The enhance the film experience means you need some kind of marketeers or the salespersons or some kind of people who can give you platform to publicize your whatever product you have done. So multiple intelligence means that you need to be in collaboration with so many people to develop particular thing. Now there are keywords that I want to take with regard to this kind of necessity that we have thought now in current world. Of course we have been doing all this, but we have been doing all this when we were in profession or we have taken up certain job. But now, as in the world of corona, we are short of employable sources, so we need to now structure, revision our process of thinking, because we are totally dependent on digital knowledge. But digital knowledge is giving us so many multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary knowledge, and we can learn cooking, we can sell our cooked material, we can make our customers networking, and then and we can also gain a lot of money online into our bank accounts. And after earning so many profits, and we can restart another business. So means such kind of involvement of different disciplines is now a current necessity. And if you develop that vision, and you will understand that what does multiple intelligence mean. Then there's multidimensional, multidisciplinary, multiple quotient. What does it mean? Multiple bagger. Multiple bagger means that one single product value for somebody or in some time of space is at certain limit. But that, for example, the mask that we are using, a mask that earlier when it was being publicized that please use a mask because there's a lot of air pollution and so, people never used to use it. So production of mask was waste. But today that simple mask has been turned into different types of pattern of mask and the usage of material into it. And that same stock is giving at different locations, different value, different price. So how your knowledge now is giving you the price and how it's standing its value. So multi-bagger portfolio you have to develop out of your knowledge. Then you have multitasking. You need to be, working at the same time to juggle up with many things to, come to certain target. Now, first is that we'll talk about multidisciplinary approach, because I belong to the English language teaching. So I thought first to take a very small example, how I use my knowledge to, keep students awakened, curious, to have some kind of scientific temperament. So this approach to curriculum integration focuses primarily on the different disciplines and diverse perspectives they bring to illustrate a topic, theme, or issue. A multidisciplinary curriculum is one in which the same topic is studied from the viewpoint of more than one discipline. Frequently, multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary are used as synonyms, describing the aim to cross boundaries between disciplines. Now, for example, let's talk about a personality, Khushwant Singh Ji. He was an Indian author, very famous in the post-independent period, when certain sort of education system of English language or English literature to be, applied to ready the minds of Indians. So here, that time he played a very important role in the Indian scenario. So now see his profile, his biodata. He was a lawyer, he was a politician, he was a journalist. So one who is journalist and a lawyer and diplomat, you can see how many streams he's in control of. how many minds he is in control of, and how he has, uh, you know, uh, developed his own self in controlling different reigns, different disciplines. And then he was ultimately a power position holder, also politician. So his experience, we find as a in a very important. So in a way, we all have to go into such kind of understanding and thinking that why such author gives you certain literary pieces. For example, he gave us one story, The Mark of Vishnu. Now, if you observe this slide, you will say that, ma'am, there is a snake. Now, the title of the story talking about some Vishnu. So Vishnu, the word Vishnu strikes in your mind something related to religion or to some person or to some. So what is it? Okay, and the mark, you can find that it's a sign or insignia or symbol or something like that. Now, how the title creates some kind of anxiousness to go into the story. So I've just taken one excerpt from that story. Sorry. Here, this story excerpt says that you're a stupid old Brahmin, some little kids. Who are the little kids? They are not very little kids, but they are very chirpy, some kind of, naughty students belonging to very early pre-independent period of 1920s or 30s, who are receiving education, and in some schools developed by colonies, British colonies, or colonizers. And see now how an Indian person picking that knowledge and transferring it to other. So the children saying to the Brahmin something like, he used to feed that snake with milk. Now, those little children are skeptical because they are receiving science education. And then see how Kushwant Singh, a professor of English, totally, we can see from his writing that he used to intermingle himself with the streams of other disciplines. Like if you see this paragraph, he says, don't you know snakes don't drink milk? At least one couldn't drink a saucerful every day. The teacher told us that a snake eats only once in several days. We saw a grass snake which had just swallowed a frog. So, very practical example the teacher of geology or science has given to the students. That reptile is non-vegetarian and he eats frog. It's stuck like a blob in its throat. So teacher has given them total, experiential learning. She might have taken to them to certain zoo or to some place to develop in them some sort of skepticism with regard to the old faith or belief or some kind of fanatism that is prevailing, and now they are questioning. Now they say that it's stuck like a blob in its throat, took several days to dissolve and go down its tail. We have got dozens of them in the lab. So lab means laboratory. Now here Khushwant Singh is bringing all knowledge of his, gathered in his times, whether as a student or whether as a professor, by intermingling with other professors, going into their lab. So he is using that knowledge into this literary piece. He's saying that we have got dozens of them in the lab in methylated spirit. Now, if you're teaching this excerpt to the science students, how will you teach? You will bring them closer to their geology lab. You will make them to visualize their geology labs preserved, reptiles in the jars, and they would start thinking. So their curiosity they will go back to their lab and they'll see how those are preserved. Earlier, they might not have observed so carefully. But if simple an art student reading this, what he's saying, I can't, it's not going into my mind. What is he saying? So the art student would look into this like this. The same, except if you are teaching to some, the commerce student. Oh, commerce student would say, okay, so we have to develop such labs, we have to develop some products that can help to conserve or sorry preserve such reptiles in such way. So we have to have such kind of factory or the plant to work with environmentalists, or to work with animal people who protects the animals in this way. So commerce, see, you have to think that how you have to attract the commerce student to learn this excerpt that is there as a piece, either for their examination purpose or for their knowledge purpose. So while last month the teacher brought one from a snake charmer which could run both ways. It had another head with a pair of eyes at the tail. You should have seen the fun when it was put in the jar. There wasn't an empty one in the lab, so the teacher put it in one which had a Russell's Viper. So see how the scientific instruments being very meticulously being described by this author, so that students may have a total grip to frame their sentences if they are visualizing certain, direct experience. He caught its two ends with a pair of forceps, dropped it in the jar, and quickly put the lid on. There was an absolute storm as it went around and round the glass, tearing the decayed viper into shreds. So when Gangaram, who used to feed the snake with the milk, it was unimaginable for him that how the snake being preserved, how the education is being now imparted to pre-colonial Indians. So it's a total contrast of belief and system and thought process. So see how the multiple aspects working from the side of the author and from the side of the students who are reading into this excerpt. Now next, transdisciplinary approach. An approach to curriculum integration which dissolves the boundaries between the conventional disciplines and organizes teaching and learning around the construction of meaning in the context of real world problems or themes. So here I have taken you closer to again some literary piece because see, of course they have given me very short time to complete my whole presentation. But I would like to bring you to the poet who belongs to the 17th century, second half of the 17th century of British history of English literature, John Donne. He writes a poem, Go and Catch a Falling Star. See the title of the poem, Go and Catch a Falling Star. Now, I don't have time to play this poem. You can later on experience it, go into the vocabulary and see how this poet, a simple ordinary man like you, a youth in the period of Queen Elizabeth or King James, and in the 17th century when the Restoration period or the Reformation period was going on in European history, that fellow, he also gives you a picture of the inclusion of science into the literary world. How just Khushwant Singh using the science in his literary piece. Similarly, John Donne picking up so many examples from the contemporary advanced world, contemporary scientific world, that material world into his literary piece. So for example, he says that he's actually, the theme of the poem is, if you talk about the theme of the poem, it is discussing about the woman, and the woman who beautiful and true. How to find a beautiful and true woman. Now, see the theme of the poem and the title of the poem. Absolute contrast. Now he says, Finding a beautiful poem, a beautiful woman with a true heart is as difficult as catching a falling star that is falling from the space down on earth. So see the impossibilities, how the two impossibilities he has connected in his imagination. So when I showed you the poster of Born Vita, there also two impossibilities, three impossibilities, four impossibilities were collaborated. One an language expert, one a painter, a designer, one a printer, one a poster maker, and another is so and so. So all different impossibilities of multidisciplinary kind collaborating into one frame and giving you some information and selling your product, selling your mind. You are controlling the world, taking a power position, becoming the center by your thought process. So this is the way the transdisciplinary approach works. Now, multidimensional. This is little different. Multidimensional was basically developed with regard to inculcate multiple intelligence among the science and engineering students to work with interdisciplinary thinking in order to advance their analysis and ability to solve complex societal problems. All right. For example, I'll just explain you because there's so much of theory given on your screen. Later on, you get into this link and read that how you can, as a student or as a faculty, develop such kind of inputs in your intelligence to give something new paradigm to the students or to the market in order to have different circulation of a product. So here what I want to say here is like I'll just give you one example here. See how they are using. Here I would like to play this. Let me see if I can share this YouTube. Wait, can I share this? Yeah. Can you all observe on your screen this YouTube share? See, these are just wait. Can you hear my voice first? Can you all hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
See, what I want to say here is that there are two ordinary, citizens of a certain country, and they have they are very much bothered that how to make money, and they are here in this video they are sharing their ideas that from how being an ordinary student they turn into a intelligent ones by bringing some new formation to certain ordinary things. So see, they used to watch cricket matches, and when while watching cricket matches they got an idea that why not to collect some shots out of many different matches. And what sort of shots they had to collect? Cheating, how the cheating is done in the while playing the match. Now, so they collected from different matches a data where the cheating was done. So this is one project they took first as soon as they got certain idea. Now second idea, see you have to see that how many ideas they had, and multi-dimensional ideas they added into one thing. So just watch how they are going into it. Can you listen to their sound? Can you see, listen to the sound of this video?
No, the video sound is not audible.
Okay, it's not audible. Let me just see. Why it's not audible? All right. See, I'll show you the see there are two. They are already recording their own conversation through certain technique. Both of them are chatting, and they are recording themselves. Now on their screen, you can see on their laptop they're displaying to YouTube viewers certain cricket shots. Now see the on their before them they have placed a laptop, and whatever data they have collected, they have developed into certain again a new kind of a video, and giving you in sequence different matches cheating shots. Now let's come back to the other point here. And see there how they're giving their reactions. Now how they are attracting the market. The cricket world had attracted already the market, and they are making billions, okay, their profits. Now these two fellows, they are making another type of profit through digital technology, and collaborating it with their whatever constructs they have developed in their mind. And finally they just going I don't know how you can later on check up with this top 7 cheating movements in cricket history, and these are Rick Seagal and Corby Miles. You can view their YouTube shares, and it is titled with Our Stupid Reactions. You'll see that how they have collaborated multi-dimensional knowledge into one single marketing product, and they are using language also here, not only in the chit chat, but they are also using it in giving you captions and subtitles. So the language experts are there. Now, if suppose if across the globe some other native people are watching this, there may be the facility of translation and decoding it, whatever their conversation is there. So see how they are working on the multidisciplinary knowledge from the multi-dimensional point. So now what's on your screen? Just let me see. Wait. Tab. So now on your screen you have certain theoretical ideas that they had thought of an idea, then they developed a script, and they made a plan. How would they go with that their idea? Then they collected the data. Then they created a video on the collected video screenshots. So already there are available videos on certain product, and they are reusing and revisualizing and then restructuring their own way of developing that technology into a certain other construct. Then capturing the funniest part of a video shot, use the collected data, constructing conversation to unleash the reaction on the shots captured in video. Then the whole idea, data of video, and stupid reactions is to remake a video for YouTube share and marketing. So you see how the people are intelligently using their multiple intelligent quotient. So widely known as a creator of multiple intelligence theory for children, Howard Gardner, while referring to his own children intelligence, reframed And he writes, I want my children to understand the world, but not because the world is fascinating and the human mind is curious. I want them to understand it so that they will be positioned to make it a better place. So see how the ordinary minds visualizing certain thing in art, in music, in technology, and then restructuring it with their own idea of uh, acquired knowledge into certain thing. So quite an insight indeed. Closer home, propelled by the competitive-centric education system, Indian parents have so far only put undue pressure on their children to adapt well to the rote method. Needless to add, this construct the healthy mental and physical growth of the children to a larger extent. And this we are realizing in the corona times very well, that how we have to make further future prospects better to make the things market globally for a further development. So theory of multiple intelligence, discussing all about the tools in English language. Now, for example, I've given you like an exercise here, that how when I was testing the postgraduate students of business administration, they were postgraduate students of business administration, fourth semester. Now, I just gave them a clip from some economic times and made them to read it. And there, if I'm an ordinary English language teacher, what will I do? I will develop some kind of question pattern where I have to test their language skills. So here, see, you can see on the oral communication skill test paper given to Master of Commerce students fourth semester, subject was their business administration and statistics. So they were, I formed certain groups, and there in those one group, I gave an assignment, right after reading the passage, 5 sentences on each of the following grammatical terms given below. So they had to search active voice sentences, passive voice sentences, modal verb sentences, present perfect tense sentences. Then they have to also find some sentences using conjunctions. Conjunctions means like simple, if, therefore, and, but, etc. Such conjunctions used in certain sentences, they have to find out. So suppose in a group, if there are 5 students, now all 5 students are very much involved, because everybody is, all 5 members have got this newspaper cutting and they have their own blank paper, and then they're all working in whatever capacity of their knowledge to work on these exercises. So it's a very involving, engrossing, occupying them very much into their learning, and whatever degree they are going to get in their Master of Commerce, that also linked into it, so that when they will go after this examination out of the room, they'll say that we did not only do the grammar language exercise in the exam class, but we also had an idea about a certain thing, and we had never read newspaper in our house in this way, as we had read in one go in such a short time of 20 or 30 minutes. We had read and we have understood that piece of news, and it had really given us such and such information. So in a multitasking manner, a multidisciplinary way, I integrated their mind into a certain target or goal, and involving them into certain future prospect. Now here what is happening, if we see, interacting and playing with other ideas in conversation. Other students are also passing on their ideas. So here you get interpersonal, intrapersonal. How it is intrapersonal? Because the examiner's mind or the teacher's mind or the faculty mind is actually at the center, and they give you the topic, and then they percolate their thought process into certain assignment, and that percolation need to be utilized and to be exercised. how it has to be exercised. That's the basic skill that you need to develop, you know, so that students may get, you know, diversity, idea of question. So here it works. So there's here this intrapersonal term matters. Then kinesthetics. Students are allowed to work at their pace, to work on certain tasks and take new opportunities and provide students to do certain activities. So I've given them activity, verbal sharing is happening, mind mapping, how the mind mapping happening in the YouTube share, how the mind mapping happening in this verbal exercise, how mind mapping was happening in the poster that I had given you or displayed before you. So I had given you three things: the poster of Bonvita, then the YouTube share of our stupid reactions, digital and humanities, that all working into it with multi-dimensional perspective, and then how this mind mapping happening in this verbal exercise given by an examiner to the students. So you have to understand how mind mapping works in a multi-dimensional manner, and you have to exercise it. Then simultaneously it helps you to enable you to do logical thinking, strategically gives chance to further curiosity to examine and analyze. So when they go out of the room, when they say that that same exercise, you know, that same clip was given to us in a different way, in a different form of exercise. So when they go out, they'll all other group members, not the same group but the other groups, group 4, group 5, they will say that the same exercise was given to us in a different pattern. So that's an you know, creates anxiety and, you know, curiosity to students that how to be strategically more improved. Then auditory connection, of course, you focus, your interest then awakens, and you just, you know, explore not only yourself, but you try to understand others' knowledge, other gaze, other expressions. So this all comes into auditory connection. Teaching and learning with technology ultimately collaborates with digital humanities here. So you have emotional connection and better connection. I've given you again here two, you know, I'll just give you a short glimpse of this share on your screen.
Hello people, I'm Javi Kuwait, joined by Charlotte Kirk. We've got an infographics video here. This is called India versus China. Who would win? Army/military comparison. There has been some rising conflict between India and China, and panic of World War III was trending. If India and China do decide to go to battle, the rest of the world will be dragged in and all-out war will ensue. In today's video, we are going to compare India and China's military powers. RC, which holds the combat advantage. There's a typo in there.
I love how you never just fix the typos when you read it. You're like, you made a mistake. I'm going to commit to reading this mistake out loud.
Ain't that just the way it goes?
Naturally, for those of you guys who are very jingoistic, if there's anything that speaks slightly ill of the Indian military, I imagine you guys will go straight to the jail and go, let's go into this with an open mind. Maybe infographics, facts are not all at 100. Maybe they don't have all the data that you guys have. And I know that there are some people who are in the Indian military that are watching this now. I salute you. It's an awkward intro. I just want to say that I'm going into this with an open mind and hoping that infographics will pick India in the end. Here we go.
In mid-June 2020, World War III started trending on Twitter. Again, this time it was because of border disputes in the Himalayas between Chinese and Indian forces turned deadly, killing upward of 20 people. This is the first time since 1975 that...
in the background.
The most serious skirmish since 1967. Naturally, as the two nations are populous, militarily powerful, and have nuclear capability.
So let's come back to our screen once again. Let me just share once again the tab. Where is my presentation? Screen. So have you understood that how the emotional connection is built up? if you are creating a conversation at the background space and over the collected data that you have developed into a video and then showing it onto another screen, so two screens are working simultaneously. So this sort of collaboration is done in digitally nowadays to market your language, to market your mind, to market your graphics and data, etc., etc., etc. So again, this video is of old kind. Generally, 5 years back or pre-corona times, we used to show you such kind of videos in our classes. Let me just show you this one also. So we are now quite advanced in corona times, not only in our online teaching and understanding and disseminating and collaborating and digitalizing our knowledge. See the difference. That's why I've added this video here for your perusal. Just check it. Up to see. Wait. So you have seen that how very in a simple way earlier the videos used to be at disposal of the students, and from those sources we used to teach them the knowledge. Now this same video now can be developed into the previous kind of Jabi Koy and Ashara Kirk, how they have developed the same thing into another type of market product. This kind of development we have to do further in our knowledge system, in our integration of different streams into certain curriculum. Now let's get to the another. So here I'm now leading you to difficult aspect of my presentation. That is, of course, so many approaches I have discussed with you, how certain approaches being adopted by the faculty in pre-corona times, and how can these already available in the digital world can be reutilized in a new way, in a new sort of lesson planning. So digital humanities, you all can understand that it can extract a lot of knowledge from various type of disciplines, and with the tools provided by computing, such as hypertext, hypermedia. So means what I was actually saying, or intensely, putting it into an important note, that the digital world today has completely, overridden our mind. It has metamorphosized our mindset. So when it has completely overridden us, so why not, as a student, whether of school or of college or of university, we have to go into certain kind of other pattern of involving the different disciplines and bringing into different dimensional level. you already can get such samples from, if you see the siam.org. It's run by government of India, and it gives you certain such courses. Even Coursera, FedEx, etc., etc., they had already been teaching you and extracting a lot of fee from you in pre-coronal times. But currently, Siam is actually helping you to, understand how the technology is integrated into different streams and developing the lessons. Now let's come to the next.
Jyoti ma'am, just a second, ma'am. We are actually running a little short of time, so if you could just a little hurry up.
Yes, of course. Now, suppose if you are in, I'm just explaining you a term multi-bagger here, and how multi-bagger, actually it's, this term is being used in the stock market, that for a certain product of value has its, different value system in different spaces, in different locations and different times. And same product has its different value in different locations. Now, how we can bring that same kind of, marketing mind into our language system or in our language teaching process? For example, you have seen that or observed that many there are Nobel laureates. How do they become Nobel laureates? How do they get prizes in the literary world? How? They create market for themselves. Many reviews are written on their books. Now their book, it's a very, when it comes into the market, it's very, price, it doesn't have any price, any value. But how it increases its value? When you write reviews over it, you write research papers, you write screen scripts, and then you adapt it into certain kind of film, and give it a certain, thematic concern, gender narrative or disability narrative, or some kind of transmigration narrative, or certain kind of narrative. So the more you pick a certain product and develop into a certain kind of, value system, naturally it comes into the craft of teaching also. It enables students to understand various types of, patterns, to understand a certain idea or a book or certain thing. But it also helps you to come into the material world professionally and personally. Then another example, every short writer is introduced before the story students begin to read. The author's introduction can be utilized to teach biodata or CV or the resume. For example, there was a lecture of the great eminent politician Kern Singh Ji of Kashmir, who was an ambassador and a great politician in his journey of.
Jyoti ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Our second speaker is waiting actually. So if you could just wrap up, ma'am.
Yeah, last, I'll just go into the last. See,
Yes, ma'am.
I've covered my section A, I've covered my section B, and section C. It's section C is basically telling you that how our multiple intelligence in the artificial world is integrated, and in the post artificial intelligence world would be integrated in the post corona times. This was my last section. So you all please go for this book. If you can note, Robert Proof, Higher Education in the Age of Artificial Intelligence, by Joseph Wan. Please go through this book, and he's explaining you that all disciplines of humanics are now professionally going to be integrated in such way that our education system would be totally overhauled and reframed for further generations. Okay, and here is a simple, WhatsApp clip I got, that see how ordering pizza in 2030 would be like this. It's a very interesting chit chat. If you would like, I can forward you my presentation to our esteemed you organizer, Professor Shivani Vashisht. I'm really grateful, and my gratitude is in words is very less, because because of her I have re-energized myself, and I have recapitulated my all knowledge with regard to whatever I can have gathered in corona times through the digital manner, and I'm certainly going to put it in my exercises of English language teaching. Thank you, Professor Vashish. Thank you to the coordinator who is coordinating the program. I'm so thankful to everybody and to listeners and participants.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful session.